When I first saw
5
that.
o'clock, time to start the meeting.
Mr. Eyre.
Welcome,
They used to
everyone.
have it over here.
Can you
speak up?
Bob,
Buffalo.
Bob,
Yes, ma'am.
the meeting started.
Oh, sorry.
I call the meeting to order. The Bryan Municipal Utilities Board meeting for July 16th. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, would you come here to do the roll call, please?
I will. Karen Ford,
Present.
Annette Schreiner,
Here.
Jim Salsbury, absent,
Absent.
Dick Long,
Present.
Bob Eyre.
Yes.
Okay, you've all been presented with the minutes from the June 26th special joint meeting. I'd like a motion for approval unless there are any changes to that.
I make a motion to approve this meeting's minutes.
The one meeting,
You
special
Karen,
meeting.
There's, you got two minutes, sets of minutes, right? Okay.
Two motions you
Yep.
want, or just one?
I have it drafted as one motion to approve both minutes.
All right, okay,
I make a motion to approve both meetings.
thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Bob,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Annette.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is a hearing of public concerns. Anyone like to address the board? Seeing no motion, no one, we will go next to the Clerk-Treasurer's Report. John?
Yes, the board is, like I say every month, the board is in receipt of the financial reports for the month ending June 30th, bank statements, bank reconciliation, and various other reports that are generated out of my office and Eric's office. So if there are any questions this evening or at any time, feel free to call me with any issues or cases. But that's all I have.
Motion to approve Clerk-Treasurer's Report?
I will make a motion that we approve the June 30th, 2024 Treasurer's Report.
I'll second.
Annette,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and Dick.
Yes.
Next up, we have a resolution authorizing an agreement for filter rehabilitation at the water treatment plant, waiving the bidding process and declaring an emergency. Jerry? You want him to read number first, or do you want to discuss it?
I can discuss it first, that's fine. Is that okay with you?
It's fine.
So just a little bit of background information. The water treatment plant was constructed with two horizontal high-pressure filters, and they're original to 1973. Each filter is about 60 foot long and 10 foot in diameter, and they consist of sand and gravel media. There's an under drain and baffle plates. So the filters are designed to remove iron and manganese, and all the original structure is still in use today. The filters were last rehabbed in 2020. That was the north filter. 2022 was the south filter. The water department staff has recently discovered some issues with both filters. We have elevated iron levels, and then an internal inspection of those filters showed several of the cells that had sand and gravel layers were 10 to 13 inches lower than what the specs are. So that tells us that there's a problem with the under drain. That sand and gravel media has went through the under drain. And so right now what it does is it doesn't filter properly. That's why we have the elevated readings, and then it also doesn't backwash properly. The exact cause of it can't be determined until we remove all that media. If you remember, in 2020 we had this issue under emergency conditions as well. All Service Contracting performed that work in 2020 and 2022. They've provided us with an estimated cost of, at minimum, $115,618 to rehab 2 cells. It does constitute an emergency if those fillers are not operating properly. And also last night at the city council's meeting, they did approve of entering into an agreement and waiving the competitive bid process. So I would respectfully request that the board do the same.
Question, Derek. How often do we do these inspections?
You know, they're very simple filters. Like I said, it's just sand and gravel. You know, annually, we can pop the tops of them, and then really all you're doing is looking in it. So on an annual basis or as an as-needed basis.
So the time frame between the two was simply a year
As far as what?
on the inspection.
Yeah, from last year to this year. And now that they've noticed elevated iron readings, you know, they went ahead and did it, yes.
In the future, do you see that become more frequent?
It probably will, because there's no long-term fix for this.
Right.
You know, it's a metal floor submerged in water for 51 years, and it's rusting, so, yeah.
When we rehabbed this in 20 and 22, what exactly did we do?
The same thing we'll do now is
Same thing
we'll
we'll do now.
remove all the sand and gravel, we'll pressure wash it, and we'll make any repairs that need to be made, and then we'll put new sand and gravel in it.
It will be all new sand and gravel?
Yes.
Because it says here in this that it would be, all media would be dumped in on-site and disposed, so I
That's
figured
the
it
old
would.
media.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it'll be new media.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll be able to look at it if you happen to come over and have it open at that time. You can look at it and look at it. It is amazing to see what it looks like, so if you haven't done it, probably be welcome to come over. I'm not gonna make the invitation, but I was there for a pass through there.
Is this a common problem?
It's really the nature of the beast. You know, you have metal submerged in water for all of this time, so I would say probably is.
Plant's 51 years old.
I know, 1973.
I mean, we've had conversations, which I'm sure we will in the future here, about building a new one, because things are just wearing out.
And with the sensitivity of water,
Gotta have clean water.
that's the priority. Right. Look at City of Toledo back in 2014.
Is this kind of unusual that the second in 2022, it only lasted 2 years?
I mean, I don't.
Again, I know the nature of the beast, but,
I mean, it's really unknown. You know, like you said, the north one, it was 4 years. The south one was 2.
Different areas wear out
yeah.
different times. Wish it could all happen all at once. Get it fixed all at once.
So this is just a different section that's being fixed instead of the one that, or is it?
So there's 1 cell in the north filter, and there's 1 cell in the south filter. In 2020, we did all 3 cells in the north filter. 2022, we did all 3 cells in the south filter.
So now we're just doing 1 cell and 1 cell?
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
Yeah.
Anything, it could go 10 more years, or it could go 2 months.
Or
And
they
then
might
another
get-
cell. You know,
They
we
might
don't
get
know.
in there and see that it
Yeah.
needs more work than that too, upon inspection. John, I'm sorry if I got this backwards.
Sure.
Please number and read type by title.
I will. Resolution number 15, 2024, authorizing an agreement with All Service Contracting Corp. For filter rehabilitation at the water treatment plant, waiving the bidding process and declaring an emergency.
I'd make a motion to accept.
Second.
Bob?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Annette.
Yes.
Up next is a resolution authorizing the transfer and appropriation of funds to the Water Capital Fund. John, would you read, read?
Yes, resolution number 16, 2024, authorizing the transfer and appropriation of funds to the 525 Water Capital Reserve Fund.
For the past several years, we've budgeted for additional capital transfers, and we've typically done those at the end of the year. That way the departments can get a head start on those projects. Because of the unanticipated expense that we just talked about of rehabilitating the filter, I would request that we make that water capital transfer of $150,000 now, and then request that City Council approve as well.
I have a motion to approve resolution 16.
So moved.
Second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Up next is a presentation and discussion on Communications Department services. Barry?
Yes, so we have a few slides prepared for you tonight. What we want to discuss is the internet service. And throughout the presentation, we'll just kind of touch on how we began, where we are, and where do we go from here. So how we began, and just keep in mind, this is just a high-level overview. I think it skipped some years in there where the board took numerous actions when it pertains to the loan and the lease. And at the end, it'll get you to the current status of the loan and the lease. So, 1997, Stanley Consultants was retained to perform a feasibility study. And that study was for the construction of a broadband telecommunications system to serve the city. In that study, it identified the potential and also provided costs for installing an HFC system. In 1998, the board approved an interfund advance or a loan for $2.5 million from the electric fund to the communications fund. And that was to contract and construct that infrastructure. That resolution also did lay out that the loan would be paid back by revenues generated by the services. The construction was completed, and then the first internet customers were signed up in 2000, and later in 2001, the first cable TV customers were signed up. And as I said, we'll fast forward a few years. January of 2016, the electric department's loan was paid. The electric department was made whole. And then in 2019, the fiber coax lease, and those terms were reestablished. And that lease payment is approved by the board annually. We bring that to you. We approve that. There is about $225,000 remaining on that lease. And then lastly, the board made the decision to discontinue the cable TV service in May of 2022. So that kind of gets us to where are we today. And if we want to start with, we can take a look at the internet customers. And the numbers you see up there are year-end accounts. I believe up until about 2013, the numbers that were used were averages. But since 2013, we've used year-end numbers. In 2000, you can see we started with about 50 customers, and then we grew the customer base in 2006 up to about 1,434 customers. From 2006 to 2021, we maintained anywhere from 1,400 to 1,600 customers. And our year was 2019 with 1,613 customers. In 2022, we started to see a decline in the amount of internet customers we had. Part of that would be related to the cable TV being discontinued, but also I think COVID probably played a part in that, with more people working from home and maybe needing more speeds to work from home than what we're able to offer. We ended 2023 with 1,064 customers, and at the month ending June 2024, we have 1,051 customers. And just a couple other things to kind of mention is that when the decision was made to discontinue cable TV, our goal was to not lose more than 25% of our internet customers. And if we did, it was going to trigger some extra discussions about the future of the internet service. And really, I think in large part, thanks to the many loyal customers we had, we didn't hit that 25% until about January of 2023. It's really remained pretty steady, but today we are at 28.8%. That is based on the number of customers we had on May 1st of 2022. So that's a number that we monitor every month. Of the 1,051 customers today, 972 of those are residential customers. Total internet sales. As you can see, from 2000 to 2006, sales were increasing up to about 726,000 in 2007. We maintained sales from 725,000 to 800,000 until about 2021. The peak being in 2017, about 853,000 in sales. To kind of highlight the last several years, 2020 and 2021 were both about 806,000, but then we started to see the decline in 2022 to 727,000. Then year ending in 2023, as you can see there, 622,000. Year-to-date revenues for month ending June 2024 are about 300,000. If you compare that to month ending June in 2023, those sales were 321,000. So we continue to see those sales trending down. Just taking a look at the combined year-end fund balance, and this does include O&M and capital. From 2000, there was a gradual but slow increase in the fund balance up to about 2.3 million in 2017. And that fund balance stayed right around that range until about 2021, when it decreased to 2.1 million. And then in 2022, it decreased again to about 1.9 million, and that's really where it has stayed since then. Year to date, the combined fund balance is just a little over $2 million. The thing to note here, and we'll look at it in the next slide, is for the past several years, we've not been reinvested in our capital. Like I said, the last several years, we haven't been reinvesting in the capital, and this is just kind of a snapshot of the last 18 months of revenues and expenses. You can see on a month-by-month basis, the revenues and expenses are relatively equal. Again, we just aren't generating the revenues to invest in that capital. In 2024's budget, we did not include a capital transfer. I believe the capital fund right now sits at about $50,000. The only area here to kind of point out is if you look over to the right, in May of 2024, you'll see the revenues are about 99,000, expenses are 69,000. That is largely due to the fiber lease agreements that you recently approved, and we received one of those payments of about $27,000. So just wanted to point out there. Year-to-date revenues are $450,000, and expenses are about $426,000. So again, revenues and expenses are relatively equal. The next couple of slides is really at the heart of where are we today, and that's with our equipment. The age of our equipment in the HSC system is approximately 25 years old. Industry standards for replacement is generally 10 years, maximum 15 years. So we're well beyond the useful life of our equipment. Our inventory is also nearly depleted of nodes and line equipment. And there really are no replacement parts available. They're no longer manufactured. So we really just can't find any spare parts. A couple pieces of the equipment to really talk about that are critical. The CMTSs, or the cable modem termination system. This enables communication to the customer's cable modem, so that's how they get their internet service. Again, it is critical equipment. We have 4 CMTSs that serve all of our customers. Back in 2017, we did replace them with refurbished units, but those refurbished units were also manufactured in 2004. So they're old as well. The refurbished units were purchased due to the cost of the unit. Today, we have 3 of the 4 CMTSs are experiencing hardware failures. And it's really not a matter of if they fail, it's more of when they fail. We actually have 2 of those CMTSs that we have box fans on to help cool them so they don't overheat. That's just kind of the situation we're in right now. Complete failure of one of those units will likely result in the end user or the customer losing their service. We more than likely will not be able to get it back up. There's no replacement parts for those units. They're no longer manufactured, and our technical support ended several years ago. Just for your information, a new version or a new model of the CMTS is about $300,000 a piece. Again, we have 4 of them. And also, just to talk about the nodes a little bit, we do have approximately 60 nodes in the system. The internal components in the nodes are failing. Again, that's due to age. It's also due to heat. Internally, they produce a large amount of heat. Some of those components are actually melting. And that's really because they weren't designed to operate this many years. Also want to talk just a little bit about the competition and the challenges that we face. Right now, every customer that we have has at least one other internet provider option besides DMU. Could be Spectrum, could be Frontier. Also, as many of you know, a fiber to the home project is being built in the city right now. And then there is also satellite providers, Verizon or Starlink, which is a couple of them. And the real challenges that we face is that these large corporations and providers, their subscriber base is so much bigger and they're able to spread their cost out over them. And then also they have greater funds to invest in technology and infrastructure. And then their speed and rate packages are very tough to compete with. So I also do what I mentioned, grants. We see different grants, we hear about different grants, but conversations that we've had, the reading we've done, most of those are geared towards unserved or underserved areas, rural areas, and not really towards municipalities. So I've kind of covered where we began. I've kind of covered some of the struggles and challenges that we have right now. And then the last slide here is kind of where do we go? We've got a couple different bullet points listed here for you to consider. We're not asking for any action tonight, but we would look for a direction. You know, the budget season is rolling around fairly quickly, and so that needs to be taken into consideration as well. So I'll kind of go through the options here. The first option would be is to further evaluate upgrades to the HFC system. We've put together some estimated costs of about $2.1 million. That would require us to borrow money or loan. So to cover debt service, the annual bandwidth costs, O&M expenses, and this is based on a 100 megabyte per second package. It's based on 1,000 customers and 15-year debt service. At minimum, we would be looking at charging $82.42 a month for a package. And that's at minimum. If we kind of go back to the industry standard of replacing equipment 10 years, max 15, if we were to go to 10-year debt service, that monthly rate would increase. That is also break even. It's not generating revenues to continue investing in capital. We also could further evaluate fiber to the home. We estimate that costs around $5.6 million. Again, same scenario. We would have to borrow money to cover the debt service, the bandwidth, O&M expenses, and 15-year debt service. At minimum, we're looking at $109.25 a month. Again, that's for 100 megabytes per second. And the same thing as the first option, it's not generating revenues to continue to invest in capital. And then the last option that we have is, again, if you take a look at the competition, and the speeds they're able to offer, the rates they can offer, you look at our declining subscribers, our revenues and expenses, new debt that may be required, and really our failing equipment. If the board wants to consider developing an exit plan as an internet service provider. Those are all the slides that I have. Joe and I are here to answer any questions, or if you have questions afterwards or later on, please reach out. But we would let your comments in the direction.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Question I have, on the forecast, end of this year, right now you're about 1,054. If, right now, if you give your best shot, what do you think December 31st?
What I think is going to be December 31st. I will say, again, thank you to our loyal customers, that subscriber count has declined still already. So I don't want to put it under.
Right. And I'm guessing Frontier and Spectrum are both competing for those same customers. And so I'm going to guess that that's going to probably drive that customer count south.
More than likely.
And at this point in time, we're not able to compete against the Spectrum and Frontier. And so if we were to exit, our customers will still have a choice.
Yeah, as I
We would
mentioned.
be one less choice, but they would have still a choice between Frontier and Spectrum.
Correct.
And then I'm just looking at the numbers, Joe. I don't see how you'd have to invest over $2 million. You know, take a 15-year loan. And I don't think your budget, Joe, your communications budget would handle that. Number one, just to be simple, there's no way we can compete anymore. I mean, it's just a matter of time. And look at the equipment. I'm shocked that it's lasted this long. You know, we haven't had a catastrophic failure. This is just my opinion. I'm just not speaking for the board, but I think it's time we develop an exit strategy or a plan. I mean, I don't see how this can, you know, you got to be financially responsible. It just can't happen.
If we went with an exit plan, what would be the termination date for our customers?
That's something that we would have to discuss and develop. I mean, I think you have to get along. I need 120 days.
Okay. So safely, end of this year, we could be out of the internet service. Okay.
Depends on the equipment, like the CMTS, I said that right? The two of them are potentially facing failure now and being helped to operate by the use of extra fans. And if one goes, it is going to lose customers. What are we going to do to?
And if we make the announcement that we are exiting the internet service, that will escalate the exit plan.
It would. And if we stayed in business and wanted to.
It's not sustainable.
Do anything, we'd have to add people to the department, and then there's those type of costs to keep in mind. And could we even offer a package in megabytes that would compete with the competitors? Or I don't know.
I agree with Dick. I think at this point in time, the appropriate strategies is to put together an exit plan.
And I think one message for the public, you know, the research that I've done back in 1997, the board's intent was to provide internet service because we were underserved, because we did not have any of that for our community. So, you know, BPA stepped in, they created that environment. And then for a long time, the only group around in town was Spectrum, and we wanted to make sure that our customers and our citizens weren't just gouged if there was no other competition in the community if we had to exit out of this. So, you know, you guys have, especially with the help of Mr. Joe Farrell, have kept this since 1997 operating for our community, so that now we've gotten to a place where there are more than one option in the community. And I think that while it's sad that this is an end of an era, I think it's something that we should applaud the board and the board over the years for being able to be that proactive and look out for this community for all those years, and leave them with at least some competition in that.
And I agree with the mayor in the sense that now you have Spectrum Frontier with unlimited funds competing against one another. We have no funds to compete against those two. So our customers still have an option. So there'll be a true up with that happening. So again, thank you.
We operated as good as we could, even making friends with a company up north in Coldwater, Michigan. Learned from them, and they had eventually gone out as well because of the competition and the costs and equipment failures as well. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast that we are at this point where we don't have enough customers to support us, and the competition is here, and we're at that decision-making process. Is this going to be a burden to the utility and our customers, or is it going to be just a failing strategy to try and keep what we have, which has been declining for over a year and a half now, if not longer, so according to the statistics, the numbers. Thank you for your presentation.
Just to be clear, then, the direction I've gotten is that you would like an exit plan developed and brought back to the future. Thank you.
I'd just like to say, if it wasn't for Joe Farrell, we would have never got as far as we've gotten today with it. You've kept this boat afloat, and I know how much hard work that's been for you, and thank God you still got hair. I'd be pulling mine out. All good things got to come to an end.
Next up is to effect semi-monthly disbursements. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Annette?
Yes.
Comments from BPA and staff? Bob, you want to start us?
Thank you, Karen. Yes, it's awesome that Spangler Candy Company is investing $5 million to advance their sugar warehouse. If you're not familiar, the cost of sugar to Spanglers, they have to pay a subsidized rate. They cannot buy sugar on the market price. So they have to buy a subsidized rate, which is a lot higher than what is on the market. So for them to come in and do this is, I give kudos for something like this. Derek, the question I have, what kind of load increase will we see with that warehouse increase?
I don't think it'll be significant.
Okay.
Dick?
Not much to say, just hats off to the power plant. You guys generated again, did a good job. Again, the peak demand times, like yesterday, just turn your AC down a couple of degrees, turn the lights off if you don't need them, it helps. Lowers your bill. That's all I have, Karen.
Annette?
I guess I really don't have anything to add.
Terry?
Yeah, just a couple of real quick things. As Dick mentioned, peak shaving yesterday and today. Yesterday did set another new 5 CP. The 1 CP is still holding from January. And I want to thank everyone for their efforts in doing those things, as Dick mentioned, to turn your air conditioner up a little bit and turn lights off. It certainly helps. And then also starting Monday, July 29th, the water department crews will begin a water main replacement project on Blakesley Avenue in Navarre. The project site is the 100 block of Blakesley. That's between West High Street and Parkview Avenue. The project consists of 1,800 feet of 8-inch water line, 3 fire hydrants, 21 water services. Beginning the 29th, they'll probably be staging materials and cutting the road, and then they'll get to installing a new main. Probably take 4 to 5 weeks or until the end of August.
Mayor?
I just want to share some community events that are coming up that I shared with council. This Saturday, Allie Herman's Memorial 5K is going on in the morning, and then Spangler is having a 100th birthday celebration for the drum man. Newsies is performing in the Arts and Ed for Fountain City Festival. It is their 25th year. And then also the Alumni and Friends concert at the amphitheater is going on that evening. That's all one day in Bryan, Ohio, so certainly something for everyone. And then the following Saturday on the square for July 27th will be Flair on the Square. And that committee's been working for the last year to go bigger and better, so we look forward to having that group in the downtown as well.
Thank you. John?
Nothing else to add.
Anyone in the audience? Mr. Betts, Mr. Farah? Bill? Okay. Well, at this time, we're going to take a brief recess before we enter into an executive session, and we will be discussing the employment and compensation of public employees, members to attend, board members, Terry, Mayor, John.